welcome to Liz at Home. Thank you for joining me today. Today I'm going to do something that's been requested, and that is to show you how I paint with both Crayola Supertips and gel pens. So I'm not going to color a whole picture, but I thought I'd do little bits in this fun and cute Kawaii coloring book. The artist is Melina Clark, and I thought I have chosen a kind of Halloween-y type of picture. So before I go further with that, I'm just going to put a piece of cardstock behind that. And then I want to tell you which supplies I'm going to use. So to start with, I need a paintbrush, and I'm going to be using a size 6 round brush. It really doesn't matter which make. I have a vessel of water. I have some paper towel. And then I have plain ordinary glycerine. I've heard people call it glycerin or glycerine. I've decanted mine into this little dropper bottle. And then I also have something which helps a little bit, and that is called blending medium. It's Winsor&Newton blending medium. It just slows down the drying time. And then I have the thing that I would highly recommend. You can use anything, but I find this Caran d'Ache aquarelle, palette aquarelle, it's not particularly pricey. It's got a smooth side and a rough side. And I have some Scotch magic tape. This is needed for the gel pens. So before I go further, I'm going to start with the Supertips. And I thought, when you have something like a great big pumpkin, it's quite a large area. So I have my large thing of Supertips here, and I'm going to choose, I've got a yellow, sort of a nice orange and another orange, and I think I'll just make do with that so long. And before I get any further with this, I'm going to scribble onto, I have a saucer here in case I need it, but I'm going to scribble onto the rough side of my palette aquarelle with the 3 colors with the Crayola Supertips. There's the one. I think this is the darker one. And here's the yellow. Oh, this is a silly sense. This particular set I got came with 20 silly cents as well. So what does this one smell like? It's supposed to be pineapple. Yeah, it actually does smell like pineapple. Okay, so now in my saucer, to put this down here, I'm going to put some drops of this glycerine. I just put a little bit more. One uses very little. And I'm also going to, it's a bit sticky, the glycerine. Glycerine is I've forgotten the word. I'll put it in the video. But it's something that keeps things wet for a little bit longer. And I'm also going to put a few drops of this blending solution. I've just got a little pipette here. There's water in it, but not much. So I'm putting a few drops of the blending solution. And now what I'm going to do is take my paintbrush got the water here, dipping my paintbrush in the water. I'm dabbing it off on some paper towel. Let me put this here so you can actually see. So dipping it in the water, dabbing it on the paper towel, dipping it in the blending solution and making a mix there. And then I'm going to put a little dip in the glycerine as well and adding that to the mix. I'm going to rinse that out, dipping it in the water, dipping in the blending solution, dipping. I'm not rinsing it between the blending and the glycerine because I'll make the brush too wet. Rinsing it and then dipping in the blending solution, dipping in the glycerine, and I feel as if we're good to go. So now I'm going to start with this darkest color, and I'm just basically painting. I have some loaded on my brush. It does make your, I haven't prepared the paper with anything, so it does make the paper buckle a little bit. I'm going back into the water. I'm just going to go around there. Oops, I've gone out of the lines. And basically filling that in. This is very thin Amazon paper, I just wanted to tell you. So it's probably going to crinkle quite a lot, but I thought so many of us have got Amazon books that it would be best to do it on this, just to show you that it works. If you get upset about your paper crinkling, then not a good idea. But I actually, in a very weird way, love the feeling and the sound of the paper crinkled. So there we are. I've done the outside. Now I'm going to go in with the other orange. I didn't test these colors out. I just need to tell you. So but the paper is not actually pilling at all, and my brush is wet. I'm going to need to make more of this color mixture. I hope I've got enough for this whole section here, because I don't want it to dry until I've finished the section. You get a smoother blend if it's wet. It's the fact of it being dry and then the wet being added on top that makes the streakiness. So now I'm running out of this color. I'm going to take some of the darker color just for the bottom, because I think that makes sense. It's got a little bit more shade here. And it would be a bit darker. So there we have that. That has been painted with Crayola Supertips, and I will finish it off camera. I'm going to do the center one with yellow. And then I wanted to show you the same thing with gel pens. I just want to clean this off here quickly. So sorry if I knocked the the camera. So I've just got a baby wipe. Now I'm using the same materials, but just gel pens. I've got my Sucolor gel pens. It's this set, and I think I'm going to do a bit of a ghost. So I want to show you a few different things you can do with gel pens. So I think I just need, wonder if I should, I think I'm going to try that silver. No, I'm going to go with the purple, G40. So let me find G40. Right, I know how I swatched them. G40 is in the second lot here. There we are. So I'm just going to use the one color. Whoopsie. And then I'm going to, it's a bit awkward here, just want to put this out of the way. On my palette aquarelle, which is slightly damp now, I'm going to put some pieces of Scotch tape. Let me know in the comments if you've ever tried this or if you found the video useful. So now, there are a few things you can do with the gel pen. Number one is onto the Scotch tape. Somehow it doesn't work when you scribble on here. It doesn't do as well, whereas it comes off very nicely onto the Scotch tape. You scribble with your gel pen. Just making quite a lot available. Next, we need to just bring in our coloring page. And we've got, I need to put a clean bit of glycerine down because that bit's got orange in it. Going to wipe up the blending medium as well and just put some clean glycerine down. There we are. And I'm going to put a teensy little bit of the blending medium. Which I don't absolutely have to have, but I do find it helps a little bit. So I don't want that to spill. Just want to, all these watercolor things are quite expensive. Glycerine is very inexpensive. We'll just add that. So now this is the glycerine, that's the blending solution. Here's my paintbrush, which is damp but fairly dry. So now you have a couple of options. You can, let's give her a purple ribbon. You can color with your gel pen straight up. No problem. I hope I'm in camera. Or, and you need a juicy gel pen for this, you can do an outline. I'm going to do an outline here quite quickly. That's why this works better on a small area. And you can dip your paintbrush into the glycerine and then paint it out. This works better on papers that are not as absorbent as this Amazon paper. It works extremely well on some papers, not as well on the Amazon, but it gives you that slight shading which is quite nice. Just out of interest, going to dip my my paintbrush has got glycerine on, dipping it in a little bit of the blending solution as well and seeing if that makes any difference. It doesn't. So I'm just spreading that as well as I can onto the gel pen. The other thing you can do is to paint, I'm just going to do a section here, immediately onto the area you want to use the gel pen with the solution first, then put the gel pen down and then spread it. It spreads a little bit better, but again, not so well on this paper. I'm going to get a different book and show you later. So when none of those work, then we use the painting method. So rinse the brush, dry it, dip it in the glycerine, dip it into the blending solution, makes a nice paint, and away we go. I just want to do an outline on this ghost. And it paints like a dream. Just want the outline. Because I want the ghost to kind of look as if it's see-through. So if you don't feel like getting the blending solution, the glycerine works fairly well just by itself as well. The blending solution just extends it a little bit more. And painting around here. So I'd need to scribble a bit more on there to continue. I've more or less finished it. But can you see how nicely that does? Then we're just going to scribble a bit more. I want to fill in this ribbon. Can you see? I think that's quite effective. I'm just rinsing my brush now. Just plain water. And just spreading that out a little bit more. I don't think that's getting anywhere. So now I'm going to just try the blending solution with that. This has got no glycerine. It also kind of works. There we are, that needs to dry. And I want to show you on a different book. So I've got Lulu Mayer's A Million Kawaii Cuties, and I'm just going to paint a bit of this rainbow to show you how it spreads using glycerine in a book with better paper. So this is the gel pen directly onto the paper, my brush, blending solution, glycerine, and it pulls the color really well, because this paper is thicker and I think it has some sort of a coating, so the gel pen doesn't immediately soak in. So that will need to dry. I'll just do some more here, as you can see. You've got to do small sections. That's the only thing with this, so that the gel pen hasn't all, whoops, I went out the lines again, hasn't all soaked into the paper. So I'm just going back into the paint, into the gel pen, and pulling it as if it was paint, getting the pigment out of it. But it's, for me, not the best solution, because it's a bit of trial and error, and you're never quite sure if it's going to work or not until you have tried the book. I've done this in this book, in the Lulumeo books, not this book in particular. In fact, I think this is the first time I'm colouring anything in this particular book. But it's a nice effect if you want that sort of line and almost a watercolour effect. There we are. So that's that. And I just want to see. The pumpkin is still wet. And so is the little ghosty. Out of interest, in the Lulumeo book, I don't want to flip it around too much because it's quite wet, but it has bled through a bit using that, and it definitely bleeds through on the Amazon. Okay, so you really need to protect the page behind. So I wouldn't use this method on a double-sided book. I'll have to make some sort of a plan if I ever get around to colouring that page, to hide that. I didn't actually think it would bleed through, but yeah, it has. So it covers nice large areas, and as you can see, it's quite smooth. I completed this picture off camera, and I thought I'd just share it with you, and I used the method throughout, and I used some gel pen directly onto the picture where you can see where I've done that. I really enjoy this method, probably because I like painting so much, but I thought that I would share this, and I'd love to hear your comments whether you've tried this or whether you're going to try it. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great week, and bye-bye now.